Louky, thank you very much for joining me. So everybody, I'm Louise Gilbert and I'm the founder of Less Stress, More Success. So I'd love to welcome you to this chit-chat stroke semi-interview that I'm having with my psychology coach, Louky, from the Netherlands, from Amsterdam. We're just going to have a bit of a chat between us, and we hope that this is going to be able to help you guys as well to kind of understand what is the psychology of stress and what is the psychology of success? Is there kind of a formula to adhere to that's going to make things easier for you? So yeah, that's what we're going to discover between us. Okay, so is there, Louky, would you say, a psychology behind success?
Yes, I do believe so, because many people really have to focus on if you really want to be successful, and the power of your mind and what you are thinking is one of the things that is maybe underestimated when you really want to have success. But also our brain has the conscious and the subconscious level, and so we really sometimes we are aware that we really want to be successful, but then we get stuck, and then we do not realize that it's somehow at the more subconscious level that something is holding us back. So that's why I always try and find for people where and how they can change their mindset to become successful.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Louky. And are there different, like, what kind of tips, what kind of things do you often, like, you find reoccurring with people who are trying to achieve something, either a personal or a professional goal, and you feel that kind of gets in their way a little bit?
Well, most people get stuck because they get distracted by many other things, so they find it hard to focus. Many people also want to do more than one thing at the time, so then they are just getting their energy to like 10 different things, and then it's just 10% of their energy instead of 100% for one goal that they are really want to achieve. So that's one of the things that people struggle with. Also, sometimes people really want to be successful, but inside themselves it feels like, as long as people don't see me, I'm fine. So in the end they just go like, why am I not successful? But then they don't realize that deep down inside there's something struggling and holding them back.
Amazing.
So then we have to find out why. And some people are also really afraid of failure. So they want to be successful, but they also are afraid that they're going to fail setting the steps, becoming successful. So then they do not actually start on the path at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You've brought up some really, really good points there. I'd say, three key factors. So number one, people, well, you said about like they don't, that almost don't allow themselves to be successful, or they kind of get distracted by things. Would you say that distraction, I mean, in my own mind, I tend to feel that people are less distracted the more passionate they are about something. So when you really truly want something strongly with desire and like passion and drive and stuff like that, then you get these little blinkers and actually the distractions get less and less. Would you say that people sometimes find it hard to truly identify with something that they feel passionate about?
Yes, I truly believe so, because some people are just not raised. Many people are raised with the idea, well, once you get from high school, you go and study, and then you have a job, and then this job enables you to pay all your bills, and that's it. And you work till you're like 67 or something. So I remember I was raised like that, and I was a secretary before I started studying psychology. And now that I'm a psychologist, it just all flows. Like before that, I sometimes got like really, like somehow even a burnout because I was not doing the things that I loved. And still, like, what I see is that, like, my eldest daughter, she's so passionate about dancing, and she just knew it when she was 9 years old. And when she was 12, she was accepted at the dance academy. And then she started working and doing all her stuff for high school in the days that she wasn't dancing, and on the other days she would just go full for it. And then so many people said to me, why do you support her? Because what you are going to do in life all the time, and this is crazy, and it's so far away from where you are living. And fortunately, all the parents that were supporting their children who were also going to the dance academy were like, oh yeah, sure, we do this for our kids, right? We just drive them there, and we just look at their eyes, and we see the passion, and we also see all the parties that they don't go to, all the holidays that they spend on training instead of going to the discotheque or whatever. So yeah, for me that was really important to support her doing this. Yeah.
Support the passion, and then people are less distracted, and they're totally committed then. And obviously the more committed you are to something, the more you take action on that thing, and thus become more successful.
Exactly.
So the second point you brought up was that people sometimes try to do too many things, and like you described, their energy that they put into that is then dissipated between so many different elements that how can they really get to like even close to 100% of capacity of what they're capable of. So I think that's really interesting. What do you think it is that why people get like pulled in so many different directions?
Well, I think many people find it hard to choose, and they've got like more qualities or talents. And also there are people who want to serve everyone, and then they are serving no one. So, and then people just struggle inside themselves when they choose for one avatar, and then they go like, but this is not doing justice to what I am able to offer. Instead of focusing on this group and giving the best you can, and then the next time focusing on another group and giving the best you can.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Definitely something to think about for all of us. And then obviously very importantly, you came on to the third point, which is fear. And being afraid of actually taking the steps. So like you said, people have they have dreams, they have visions, they have all these goals that they really want to achieve, but they never end up being able to take even the first step sometimes. Or if they do start to take a step, they get scared, and they kind of just they back away from it, with the first sign of difficulty or something like that. So that's a massive one. But do you feel like what is it? Why are we all so scared?
Well, I really believe that actually there are two basic emotions, anxiety and love. And what I see in the environment, in the people that I know, and that actually people are afraid. Everything, the mindset of so many people is the basic is fear, and that's how we think. And so there's this tendency now to go more to love and passion and being happy for someone else who is successful. So yeah, we're going into the right direction, but I don't know, but because I was raised with a dad who had been in Indonesia, and he was born there, and when he was 16 he was actually in the Japanese camp in the Second World War for 4 years. So his basic was fear, and that's the way I was raised myself, you know. They just couldn't get out of it somehow. So that's the example of your parents that you get.
Yeah. Wow, that's quite something to kind of live with and live through and have experienced. And obviously that's, you know, our parents are a massive factor, and although like there's a lot of conversation, you know, you can't blame other people for you know how you are or your misfortunes or where you are today. However, you know, our parents, you know, they were responsible for creating us at the earliest stages, our mindset, how we view the world, how we view ourselves, all of that kind of thing. So it's super important to be aware, I think, aware of what happened in the earlier days, to kind of understand better as to who you are as a person now. But it doesn't mean that you can't change, that you can't kind of be someone different or view the world differently or anything like that. How much would you say that somebody's childhood and upbringing has as an impact on their future?
Well, that also depends on who you are as a person. Sometimes people get so involved that this is the way they are going to continue, and others just realize like, this is not how I want to do it. So how can I change my life in a different direction? And well, at first people research was done that they thought that the brain was not makeable, but they've realized now that it is. So there are also now new ways of creating your own brain and getting another mindset. Yes. So and we know how to do it now more, because I remember when I started working on this just after my divorce about 11 years ago, I didn't realize that my mind and the way I was thinking actually was holding me back. So it wasn't until I came across people who were telling me like, but if you are actually thinking like, I want to stop war, then you still focus on war. If you want to go and have peace in the world, that's better to focus on. So that's really interesting. And so neuroplasticity is the buzzwords, I suppose, out there, and being so the brain, everybody, you know, is so fascinating, and it is slightly it's I always sort of see ourselves almost in a trinity kind of style, you know, so I'm not actually religious, but I do see it like that. So we have our physical body, basically, everything that's you know, not your brain, let's say, or connected to the gut brain, and that's another topic. And then so you've got your mechanical body, you've got your mind, and then you've kind of got you, which is your conscious you, you know, who you would describe as, like, who I describe as Laura, who you describe as Louky, and that kind of thing. And I think once you understand that there's a separation between the conversation of your conscious self, and the mind and what it creates for you. So because it creates situations of, like you said, anxiety, fear, panic, stress, or it can do the opposite. It can create pictures and resonate with ideas and concepts that create love and acceptance and success, because it's self-belief, really. And like you said, we can actually change those. When you fall into the trap of kind of thinking, well, this is just how it is, or this is just how I am, and I can't do anything about it. You turn yourself into a victim.
and that means you're then trapped. You've literally trapped yourself. You've put bars up. You've put bars up between you now and the you that you could be if you allowed yourself to actually change and move forward. Why do you think it is that people find it so difficult to accept that maybe they can take responsibility for the change of their own mind, for the change of their own situation?
Well, I believe that people, when they take responsibility themselves and then it doesn't work out, then we start again with, but then I failed. So they rather find someone else to blame for all the things that are happening in their life, instead of taking responsibility for themselves and being proud that at least they've tried, even though they fail, and see what lesson they can learn from not being successful in the way that they expect it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose discovering, or being, I suppose you could say comfortable, because it's never quite comfortable to force yourself out of a comfort zone.
Exactly.
And us as beings, because every living being is basically set up for survival, and survival comes with self-preservation. Self-preservation comes with anxiety, because if you're not anxious about your surroundings, then you're going to get eaten. Or you're going to get trampled. So again, in the same way that your body is attuned to survival like that, the mind is attuned to survival like that. So the mind is actually wired, everybody, to be more negative, to actually see the bad stuff quicker, sooner, be more perceptive to that, because that's your survival mechanism. If you're going around seeing sunshine, rainbows, and fluffy kittens everywhere, then that's beautiful. However, back in the old archaic days, which is what your body is developed from, you would have been down, you would have been eaten, you would have been bones. So I think, like you said earlier, Louky, we're going through a bit of a change, a mindset change and a shift, really, as to allowing ourselves to view the world in a more positive way, to view ourselves in a more positive way, which is basically the brain, or us being in control of the brain and asking it to be less fearful of the things that it used to be fearful of. If you think back through history, we've spent millennia becoming the body that we are, but the brain that we have, and the environment that we now live in with our brain and our body is just miles away. I mean, even in the last 50 years, 100 years, 150 years, the differences now, I mean, even in the last 20 years, the change is out there. It's just not the same world. So I've always felt like that's kind of our deepest battle, is kind of being able to assimilate into a world that is actually there for growth. There's so much we can do in the world now, with ourselves, with other people. The world's getting smaller, so connectivity, like we're able to have this chat, hundreds and hundreds of miles apart, and able to then share it on a platform where anybody in the world can see it and watch it. That's amazing. But we've still got this this part of us that is kind of closing all that down and being scared of it. So it's fascinating. It's really interesting, and it's wonderful to talk about this with you, Louky, because I think we've touched on some really, really key points. If you were going to give people some, let's say, 2 tips. So first of all, if you were going to give someone a mindset tip to allowing them to create more success for themselves or obtain a goal, what kind of thing would you say to them?
Well, what I always advise people is to be really careful about the words that you are using. So always use like I am powerful, or I am healthy, or I have a great business. Like it's already here in the here and now. And focus on what you want. So not like I will have a new car, because the word will is in the future and then it remains in the future. So actually when we really want it like here and now, we have to say like I am, I don't know, healthy or whatever.
That's great. I love those tips. They're fantastic. And they really do make a difference. And I think we all have to be conscious of them like every day. It doesn't just happen once, and it doesn't always happen naturally, especially in the beginning and the beginnings of any change within your mind. You know, you have to work on it. You know, there's going to be an instinctive pattern that we've developed over a long time. So if you want to change that, you're going to actually have to think about it. And put the effort in. And like you said, it's so easy to say things the wrong way, and it's also so easy for us to just be quite almost flippant about it, and not really realize how much of a change, like how damaging the wrong language can be, and how uplifting and how supportive the correct language can be. So I think that's a really valuable tip, Louky. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me today, Louky, and taking the time to do that. I really appreciate it. Yes, everybody, so that is me and Louky talking about mindset, some of the psychology behind stress and success. Do take on board Louky's tips. They really do make the difference. And we look forward to seeing you again on another video. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.